Afternoon and a very warm welcome. My name is Yvonne Ng and I'm the APAC Head of Sales for Elliptic. Today, we are here to witness a new milestone in the world of blockchain. A three-party memorandum of understanding will be signed by Global Fintech Institute, Blockchain Association Singapore, and Elliptic. Let me give you a quick intro about these three organizations. Global Fintech Institute is the Singapore-based global professional credentialing body for fintech professionals. Blockchain Association Singapore is the leading industry association for digital asset and enterprise blockchain. Elliptic is the leading provider of digital asset risk management solutions for digital asset businesses and financial institutions. For today's signing ceremony of this Memorandum of Understanding, we have very special guests who have joined us this afternoon. Please allow me to introduce them to you. First, we have Mr. Patrick Tay, Assistant Secretary General, NTUC, and Member of Parliament, Singapore. We also have Professor David Lee, Co-founder and Chairman, Global Fintech Institute. Mr. Chia Hock Lai, Co-Chair, Blockchain Association Singapore. And from the UK, Mr. Tim Chapman, Vice President of Elliptic. Warm welcome, gentlemen. This Memorandum of Understanding between GFI, BAS, and Elliptic seeks to nurture a future specialist digital assets compliance expertise through the first digital asset compliance training program with high-quality digital asset certification, relevant and contextual evidence-based case studies. This digital asset compliance certification also opens up new opportunities for compliance professionals to grow their AML and financial crime skills with certified digital asset compliance knowledge. Before we start the program, let me take a few moments to share with you what we can expect this afternoon. Firstly, we will start with a welcome address by Mr. Chia Hock Lai, Co-Chair of Blockchain Association Singapore. I will then invite Mr. Patrick Tay, Assistant Secretary General, NTUC, and Member of Parliament, Singapore, to give us his opening keynote speech. And we will also be inviting Professor David Lee and Mr. Tim Chapman to deliver their keynote speeches as well. After that, we will witness the signing of the MOU between GFI, BAS, and Elliptic. After the signing ceremony, please stay on to join us for a very interesting panel discussion on the topic of future of work in blockchain. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mr. Chia Hock Lai, Co-Chair, Blockchain Association of Singapore, to give us a welcome address.
Thank you, Yvonne. Brother Patrick Tay, Mr. Tim Chapman, Professor David Lee, ladies and gentlemen, be welcome to our webinar and the MOU with Elliptic at the Global Fintech Institute. My name is Hock Lai. I'm the co-chairman for the Blockchain Association Singapore. I think I'll have a very quick welcome address. I think over the last 12 months, we have witnessed very exciting development in the digital assets and the blockchain space. First, increasing regulatory certainty, starting with the acceptance by the US regulator that banks in US can start accepting crypto as a custody. And more recently, the Financial Action Task Force released the latest consultation paper covering even the latest developments in non-fungible tokens and decentralized finance. Next, we have growing institutional interest in the digital asset space, starting with Tesla and MicroStrategy, buying Bitcoin as their treasury. And also we have the local bank, DBS Bank, starting to offer digital assets to their clients. And more recently, we have Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal jumping into this domain. Third, we are witnessing accelerating in the innovation in this particular space. Since June last year, we see the stood up in the decentralized finance, and over the last 3 months, we see very hotly debated and on the space of non-fungible tokens. And last but not least, we have witnessed large-scale implementation of enterprise blockchain projects, especially in the trade finance space, with the likes of several trade finance consortiums from Contours to Fortran. Having said that, every now and then we hear the thing that crypto has been used for illicit, has been used pervasively for illicit financing. I'm very heartened to read a report just 2 days back from one of the acting director of the Central Intelligence Agency. He did a study on the use of crypto for illicit financing. And his conclusion was that only less than 1% of crypto is being used for money laundering or terrorist financing, well below the 2 to 3% for fiat transactions. But more importantly, he concluded that blockchain analytics tools, like those from Elliptics, Chainalysis, or CipherTrace, are very effective in detecting financial crimes or even to facilitate investigation to all these questionable transactions. And for Singapore, as an international financial center, I think we need to capture this opportunity in the rise of the digital assets industry. And one of the very important ingredient will definitely be the availability of professionals who are able to do digital asset compliance. In fact, I think we could position Singapore as a center of excellence for digital assets compliance. Therefore, I'm very heartened that today we can do the MOU with Elliptics, one of the top blockchain analytics firm, and with the Global Fintech Institute, which is the global credentialing body for fintech professionals, so that they can bring this training beyond Singapore. And last but not least, with our partner, the Banking and Financial Services Union, with their 8,000 strong members, I hope that some of them can take this opportunity to reskill themselves into this exciting new skill set of digital assets compliance. With that, I would like to conclude my speech. Over to you, Yvonne.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chia, for that very interesting welcome address. Next, let us welcome Mr. Patrick Tay, Assistant Secretary General, NTUC, and Member of Parliament of Singapore, to give us an opening address. Mr. Tay, please.
Yeah, thanks, Yvonne. A very good afternoon to each and every one of you, if you're in Singapore, depending on which part of the world you're tuning in. Again, a big thank you to Hock Lai, Tim, as well as Prof. David for having me here today. Joining you here just to share some thoughts about this space as we ink the MOU and look at this space moving forward. I hope to later talk a bit more during the panel discussion. But again, a big thank you to Hock Lai and the Blockchain Association Singapore team, Tim Chapman from Elliptic, as well as Prof. David, a well-known face in the fintech space, especially if we are doing a lot of getting up about this space. You hear his name pop up many times. And of course, all of you attendees out there, I see many familiar names in the financial sector, or should I say in the fintech community. I'm here today for a variety of reasons. Firstly, one of the hats that I wear, besides being Assistant Secretary General at NTUC, is as the Executive Secretary of the Banking and Financial Services Union. Therein lies my virtual backdrop. Yeah, together with a team of colleagues and sisters and brothers in the Banking and Financial Services Union, we actually have a very close partnership, or should I say a partnership arrangements of sort, with the Blockchain Association Singapore. And therefore, we are here today, or should I say, I'm here today to lend support to our Blockchain Association Singapore, as well as GFI, and in this tripartite MOU between BAS, GFI, as well as Elliptic. So firstly, to congratulate the three of you for inking this deal today, and we will see that shortly. But I said I'm here because I think this is a very important space. if you look at what has happened in the last 12 months with COVID and a lot of disruptions, I think even prior to COVID, there's lots of digital disruption, and the space, particularly in this space, digital assets, crypto, blockchain, fintech, has already kind of like picked up speed right even before the COVID-19. As you know, in Singapore, we had our few rounds, should I say 3 rounds of the Fintech Festival. Lots of you in the ecosystem have gathered together at the Fintech Festival. Unfortunately, we're not able to fellowship physically, but I'm sure in the virtual and digital space, we are getting together. So as you can see, in the last 12 months or so, it was tough times for many companies. I think not just in Singapore, but in the region as well as internationally. Some companies have gone under, some companies have faced challenges. Some companies, however, have managed to pivot and transform. And I am glad to share that in the financial sector space, we're quite fortunate. I think last year, of course, the first 2 quarters were bounded with uncertainties. Singapore went into a recession, and but I must say, the last quarter and as well as the first quarter this year, things are looking a bit brighter. I'm a bit more optimistic and upbeat compared to a year ago. Yeah, when I was pretty downcast actually. But I think this year I'm rather bullish, and I expect to see positive growth, at least in Singapore for this year, and a lot of opportunities. And I'm glad to share that the modern services sector, which comprises, for example, professional services, the infocom technology space, as well as the financial sector, and in particular, the fintech and blockchain space. These are all big, important areas, not just for the globe, but especially for Singapore. If you look at the Singapore economy the last 5 years and what's happening, likely to happen this year, this particular space, the modern services space, in particular the financial sector, has been powering the economy in more ways than one. Powering in terms of economic growth, likewise also powering in terms of job opportunities and traineeship opportunities. In fact, as we are talking, I know that many of our financial institutions, including many of our fintech and blockchain players, are also on the lookout for people. Yeah, and of course, it's going to be a big talent hunt out there. And I'm glad that we are inking this partnership, of course, to roll out this digital assets compliance program. I think it augurs well and is timely, because I think this entire digitalization, or should I say digital asset space, has in more ways than one accelerated, fueled by COVID-19, unfortunately, and with the low touch economy. At the same time, because of e-commerce and every company, every business, every sector, every industry going digital, I think this presents to us lots of new opportunities, a lot of growth opportunities. And again, for me, from a standpoint of workers and representing workers and looking after the workers' interests and welfare, for workers to equip themselves with the necessary skills and knowledge. In fact, last weekend I was just going through a Skills Future program and picking up some new skills in the financial professional services space. So I think we must not let our guard down, continue to pick up some of these skills. And I'm glad we have this program, because I think it's a growing area, or should I say have already grown quite a bit. And I do encourage everyone to pick up the necessary skills to stay ready, relevant, and resilient. Can't emphasize more the importance of this, particularly as we are venturing to a pretty uneven, a pretty volatile, as well as a pretty uncertain space, or future moving ahead. So I think it's really an imperative for all of us to pick up the necessary skills. And you can't just live with one skill alone. You probably need to pick up several deep skills so that you are able to pivot and move into some of these new opportunities. And I'm excited, particularly in this space. Yes, Prof will be glad to know that I read his book, Inclusive Fintech, and really, not just reading his book, but if you have been following the newspapers and the media reports, this space, digital asset space, crypto assets, as well as blockchain, is going to be likely the order of the day in many transactions as we go digital and as we go virtual. But on that note, we'll talk more at the panel. It leaves me now to hand over back to Yvonne and to Tim and Prof to say a few words shortly. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tay. It is really our honor to have you here as the witness to this MOU signing ceremony. Very heartened to hear from you about the bullish outlook that you have for the economy. And I have no doubt that, you know, these three organizations coming together to deliver this compliance certification program will certainly contribute to increasing the competency of the talent pool that we will need in this digital asset space. So may I now invite Professor David Lee as well as Mr. Tim Chapman to say a few words. So over to you, Prof. Lee.
Thank you very much, Yvonne, and thank you very much to our VIP, Mr. Patrick Tay, for gracing the occasion today. And also thank you very much to Tim Chapman and Chow Hock Lai. I'm very glad today to be representing GFI to be signing this MOU with the three parties. I will just say a few words about what has changed over the last 6 months that prompted us to treat this as a very important project that we have. I think over the last 6 months, we have seen a lot of development in the central bank digital currency, and we have seen quite a few successful launch, including Cambodia, which is very near us, part of the 10 ASEAN countries that we are in. And that kicked off a lot of very interesting, projects that will see cross-border transaction as well as international remittances. And I understand that Cambodia is also working with Maybank in Malaysia to have cross-border payment fairly quickly after their US dollar bakun as well as the Riyal bakun. And of course, all other countries are beefing up. Singapore has been in the game, leading the game as well together with China and the rest. So that's one thing that we all have observed. The other thing that I think everybody has been observing is that the international asset allocators and also corporate investment arms are now actively looking into the area of cryptocurrencies as well as crypto tokens, tokenizing traditional securities and bonds, as well as tokenizing a lot of other interesting goods, products, as well as services. And that is a very big area because once asset allocation starts with proper custody and right regulatory environment in the US, Singapore, China, as we have heard in the last few days that they are also regulating for the first time, to mention that regulation for crypto is in the making, makes a big wave in the area of fintech. And lastly, I think everybody has heard all about the NFTs and non-fungible tokens. That again, a lot of activities has been taking, has been happening in Singapore and elsewhere, especially in Singapore. And over the past 6 months, I think Singapore has been the focus of a lot of things that has been happening, and is actually through the efforts of what we have seen, MAS and a lot of government policy that has helped us to bring us to where we are today. So in short, I think I'm so glad with all these institution activities as well as retail activities happening in the fintech and the financial sector. The most important, obviously, is compliance, because compliance is one major area, especially when we're talking about cross-border. So I will just stop here because I'm sure Tim has a lot more to say about that. But I'm really glad to be here to be part of this event today. Thank you very much. I'll pass it back to Yvonne.
Thank you, Prof. Lee. And over to you, Mr. Chapman, to say a few words, please.
Thank you, Yvonne. First of all, thank you for inviting me and Elliptic to be part of this great initiative. I think what really attracts us to this initiative, and me personally, is education. And growth and innovation comes from education. And a case in point, I guess, as Patrick was talking about, was myself. As you can see, I'm fairly grey-haired, quite new to the blockchain world. So I've had to pivot and educate myself to operate in this environment. So I would strongly encourage all of you out there to pivot and to always be learning every day to develop yourself. So that's why I think personally I'm very passionate about this. Also, it's great that Singapore as a region is supporting this. I think it also comes at a societal level in terms of driving these initiatives and ensuring that you can develop a center of excellence and the human capital to drive this business. So I think that's really, really important. And obviously, yes, compliance is important to Elliptic. It's our mission. We're here to basically make this a secure and open environment for people to do business in, and for consumers to trust in the blockchain and in digital assets. So to us, it's a great opportunity to work with some very established organizations in terms of driving these activities in the region. And I was on recording a podcast the other day with Temo Beg from DBS Bank, and we were talking about this is now a $1.1 trillion environment now. So it's a massive business. It's a massive opportunity for all of us to exploit. And I would certainly strongly encourage you as individuals on the line here to educate yourselves, whether it's this program or another one. As I was formerly a lecturer in a university teaching economics, I used to sit and teach my class and say, blockchain, who knows about the blockchain? And you get the odd little hand would come up. And I'd say, I need to see more hands. You guys need to learn about the blockchain. This is the future. So these kinds of initiatives make sure that we can develop a strong future for all of us. So I strongly commend this, and we're really, really grateful to be part of it. So thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who have just joined us, we are about to witness a tripartite Memorandum of Understanding signing ceremony for Blockchain Association Singapore, Global Fintech Institute, and Elliptic. So will our witness as well as our signatories please get ready today to sign this Memorandum of Understanding. We have 3 signatories: Professor David Lee, co-founder and chairman of Global Fintech Institute, Mr. Chia Hock Lai, co-chairman, Blockchain Association Singapore, and Mr. Tim Chapman, vice president, Elliptic. And we are very honored today to have our witness, Mr. Patrick Tay, Assistant Secretary General, NTUC, and Member of Parliament of Singapore. So signatories and witness, please get ready. Okay, so in true blockchain style, our signatories and witness will be signing this Memorandum of Understanding virtually on the blockchain. So gentlemen, please go ahead and sign the Memorandum of Understanding. And once you are ready, please kindly hold up your screen so that we can all see your signatures. Thank you, Mr. Chia. Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Thank you, Professor Lee. So our 3 signatories have already penned their signatures down on the blockchain for this Memorandum of Understanding. Mr. Patrick Tay, we invite you to witness this Memorandum of Understanding, please. Well done. Okay, so gentlemen, if you could just hold up your screen for just a few more seconds so that we can capture this significant milestone. Prof. Lee, will you hold up your screen? We would like to take a photo. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I will now invite Dr. Ernie Teo to just quickly validate and show us the Memorandum of Understanding that has just taken place on the blockchain.
Hi everyone, I'm Ernie. I'm the founder of the Toko, which is the platform that we are using today for signing the MOU. So I just received the signed MOU from the signers, and I'm going to verify it now to show you that it's been recorded on the blockchain. So these are the pieces of evidence that we've been storing on blockchain. and the related kind of evidence are all recorded on our permission blockchain here. And we can view the document here with the final signatures as well, right? Okay. So yeah, Didoko is a platform where you can, sign documents and register documents on blockchain. Do check us out if you are interested to use us. Okay. Thank you.
That is very cool, Dr. Ernie Teo. This is my first time seeing a document being signed on the blockchain, and I'm sure this might be the case for many of our participants today as well. Thank you very much. Okay, so virtual applause to all our signatories, as well as thank you, Mr. Patrick Tay, for kindly being our witness today. We are now going to move into the next segment of today's session. And we are going to now have a panel discussion on the topic of future of work in blockchain. And for this segment, it is with great honor to invite the moderator of this discussion, Mr. Henry Tan, Group CEO and CIO of Nexia TS. Mr. Henry Tan will lead the panel discussion. Over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Yvonne, and so excited to see what's happening. And I think we will have a very good conversation here. Thank you, Tim, David, Patrick, and Hock Lai. Let's get this going and as casual as possible. I will start by asking some questions, and then for participants, you also will be part of this conversation. So please put the questions in either the Q&A chat or the chat button, and it will try to do that to answer your questions later on as well. So I will start with perhaps with Patrick. Hi, Brother Patrick.
Hi.
Can you just share some of the insights on what the government mean by Singapore core and the PME, in particular financial services related area?
Yeah, I think this is a very important topic. I think prior to COVID-19, this has always been one of the important areas, strengthening the Singaporean core. As you know, of course, in many countries across the world, yes, there's a lot of focus on citizens as well as their own countrymen. But I think in Singapore, we are heavily reliant on foreign manpower. For a simple reason that not just that our population is shrinking because of an aging population, as well as the fact that we have very low fertility rates here in Singapore, but also we see the complementarity of foreign manpower with our local manpower. So in Singapore, in the last decade or so, and moving forward, I mean the constant refrain is that we will at a policy level, maintain that 1/3, 2/3 kind of ratio, 1/3 foreign manpower, 2/3 local manpower, and that will likely guide many of the rules, regulations, policies, and directions on the manpower front. But of course, certain sectors, as we know, are powering the growth of Singapore, and in particular, financial sector, ICT, professional services, what I call the modern services sector, are sectors which actually have been quite heavily reliant on foreign skilled manpower. But however, yes, Singapore continues to remain open, remain competitive, remain attractive to foreign investment. I think that has always been the case. But I think at the end of the day, what we hope to see is through these many foreign investments, many startups, many businesses setting up shop here, and of course in the region, empowering from Singapore as a HQ to be able to hire, groom, and recruit local talent, i.e. Singaporeans, particularly so in this period where we see in a way more Singaporeans. In fact, last year, you look at the figures last year, there were like 26,000 that were laid off just in 2020 alone, and many of them are actually fresh entrants, fresh out of school, from universities, from polytechnics, and also looking for openings. Yes, our unemployment rate has gone up vis-a-vis in 2020 vis-a-vis 2019, but I think it's kind of tapered off, And as you know, in Singapore, we put a lot of efforts and energies, and there's lots of support for companies and businesses, at the same time also for workers and individuals to pick up the necessary skills and of course equip themselves. So I think there are a few key important principles of the Singaporean core. The Singaporean core does not mean Singaporeans only. It means encouraging companies and businesses to have a core of local manpower to power the company and business. I think that's key. Well, it varies according to industries. Yeah, different industries have different demands, different profile of the industry. So it depends which industry you are in, the size of company, etc. Otherwise, I mean the key principle is, to do your best to hire, develop, and train a core group of local manpower so that they can power your company and make the company a going concern and a profitable one at the same time. And of course, the other key word is complementarity. So besides the first C of a core, the other C is complementarity. I think in jobs where the skills that you really can't find in Singapore. Well, this program is, or in fact, this tripartite MOU is one example of how we're gonna plug some of these gaps. Because I think companies also often, publicly say that they are short of skills in certain areas. So I think it's great for this partnership in GFI, BAS, as well as Elliptic to create this training proposition so that we can equip many more, local manpower to pick up these skills and to equip themselves to stay employable and to grab some of these new opportunities. So I think that's in a nutshell what Singaporean core is about. Is to encourage companies to hire, develop, and strengthen the core, and at the same time also ensuring, foreign manpower is complementary to our Singapore manpower.
Thank you, Patrick, and that's very clear. And maybe a follow-up question to that is that, there's often when you talk to employers and they'll say that we cannot find Singaporean workers or professionals. And then on the other hand, if you talk to some PMETs and some Singaporeans, they say, oh, it's so difficult to get jobs and most of the jobs are taken by foreigners, for example. So it can't be, one side is right, one side is wrong. But so is there real mismatch in the job market? And what's your personal take on this?
Yeah, you're totally right, Henry. There is a mismatch, what we call the structural mismatch. Unfortunately, that's one of the main challenge, I would say. In fact, I've spoken about this a couple of years back. I think this will continue to be the main challenge for Singapore, not just this year, but in the many years to come. I think structural unemployment is not a new concept. It's something in Economics 101, but again, in Singapore, particularly exacerbated by the fact that, of course, we have a very tight labor market, at the same time also a shrinking workforce, but at the same time also the speed of disruption and change and technological change has kind of like taken many of us by surprise. And of course, COVID accelerated the momentum of many of these digitalization efforts. So in a way, there's sort of a gap, a mismatch in the sense that we have the jobs, we have the people, but there are not enough people with the skills to connect them or for them to take up those available growth areas. So therefore, there's a lot of resources. I think the government, through 5 budgets last year and of course this year's budget, and I was just interacting with many of our counterparts in the region as well as globally. I think in Singapore, we're in quite a fortunate position where many of the programs and training are generously supported by various government agencies, lead agencies, as well as at the individual level as well as at the workplace, company level. So I think the key is, yes, there's a problem, there's a structural mismatch. How can then we, as tripartite partners, as as a country, overcome this bit by bit, step by step, and hopefully organization by organization and then industry by industry. I think we are doing that. You heard about in Singapore, we are rolling out the industry transformation maps, something like 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago to be exact. And we roll out actually industry transformation blueprints for 23 different sectors, including the financial sector, and Fintech is one of the identified spaces. And over and above that, after that, we actually came out with skills frameworks for all 23 different clusters. So that actually there's 2 compendium of documents for every sector, including the financial sector, to look at what are the skills you need to pick up to move up the value chain, or to move up in your careers, or to move into this career, or move into other adjacent jobs and industries. So information is out there. I think the challenge is this information asymmetry, to get this information out there, and then of course encourage everyone to get out the comfort zone and the inertia to pick up some of these skills. So so that's my thought.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Okay, we'll come to other questions for you, but maybe Hock Lai, because you are the chairman for this blockchain Singapore, and I think you know the ecosystem quite well, and I think Patrick mentioned about the skills mismatch and also some of the need for educating. What do you see the blockchain industry, and is this an area that all our people should try to upskill themselves to enter this particular industry? I think you are muted.
Yeah, thanks, Henry, for your question. Like I shared during my welcome speech, right, I think we see that the macro trends are very positive for blockchain development. We are seeing large-scale blockchain implementation, not just in financial services such as trade finance. We are also seeing some development in healthcare. For example, like GovTech, they actually developed a health cert blockchain framework to facilitate the easy sharing of and verification of COVID-19 tests and vaccine passports. Similarly, for the past few years, GovTech has also developed Trade Trust, which facilitate the sharing of bills of lading for the shipping industry on blockchain, and also open certs for all the certificates issued by the Ministry of Education. So you can see that blockchain is not just for financial services, but also equally relevant to many other industries. The second thing is that I also shared that increasingly we see regulatory certainty in this space, which resulted in many institutional interests coming into this space. So, and with the community worldwide looking at this, right, we are also seeing a lot of innovation happening in this space. So definitely blockchain is an industry that I see for the next 2 to 3 years potentially will become the next mainstream after what Fintech has done, which is why I'm now focusing a lot into this space. In terms of like reskilling into this particular industry, I think at least the multiple parties here, we have been actually working on it for the past 2 years. For example, Blockchain Association Singapore, we have been working with Singapore Polytechnic to roll out various kinds of blockchain developer program. So you can find all those programs in the Singapore Poly website. And more recently, in last year during COVID-19, to help our mid-career professionals who lost their job, we actually developed the SG United Blockchain Talent Program, which is a 12-month program to help to reskill professionals from other industry to pick up blockchain development skills. And in the industry, there are also various kinds of blockchain courses for executives. So need not everyone, you need not to be a blockchain technical expert to come into this industry, because the industry also requires people who are able to do, for example, project management, business analyst roles. And also increasingly, we see that there are more and more commercial products on blockchain. So they will require people who are able to do pre-sales or sales. So we see that this industry is going to be very exciting, and we start seeing that it flow to other industry, such as the recent non-fungible tokens, whereby blockchain combined with art is able to transform the traditional art industry and help the artist and the creator to have a new pathway during this COVID-19 to find new ways of earning a living. So I continue to be very positive in this space, and that this is a space that I will be putting a lot of energy to build up the ecosystem. Thanks, Henry.
Thank you, Hock Lai. So what you are saying is that again, roles to this is that you get educated, you get equipped, and then be ready for it. Yeah, it's very interesting you talk about the art scene. I think I was reading also on the part about even buying a token so that you gain access to the seller of a property or something, you know, so that is beyond that. Yeah. So maybe we come to, before we go very deep into really today's main topic by Tim, I want to go to David as well. David, because you obviously are the guru in all this area of blockchain. Sometimes when you talk, I cannot understand anything, but I try my best. But I think the part, because both Patrick and Hao Lai talk about skilling up and all this, so it's right smack in this thing of education. In your mind, is it more of a supply kind of base kind of situation, or is it more of a demand base? Because obviously, maybe some of the people on this webinar was wondering, you know, so is it an area very new that I shouldn't be educated first, or I wait if there is actually a lot of demand for such kind of jobs, then I go into this area? What's your view? I mean, what's your advice?
Thank you very much, Henry, and thank you very much for sharing this. I think this is a very important question, whether education should be supply or demand-based, to summarize your question. We need to understand that this is a very unique period. This is the time where we are in the fourth industrial revolution. So a lot of things that we all believe in may not work as well as before. And to answer your question is that we used to think that education is supply-based in response to demand, and there's not much of consumer sovereignty. So the professors and the university and the institutions decide what the students should study. But I think that that has to be relooked at during industrial revolution. But things are moving very fast. There's a time compression, and we all have to crowdsource wisdom together. And education is not a very easy area to just transform overnight. The professors themselves have to tool up, and then they have to develop the teaching materials, and then they will have to then disseminate this information to the students, and then work with the industry. So I think the Singapore universities have been doing all this, and at GFI, we have come out with a Chartered Fintech professional qualification. And in response to this, we have to set up 3 councils. One is the academic council, because the academics are important. We need to know what they can teach and what is lacking. And then we have the professional council with people like, in the industry who are at doing the business themselves, knowing where the gap of the knowledge is, having graduated from the university, or perhaps were a researcher in the universities that come out and do business. Then we need to then balance. We also have an international council which guide us on regulation. They consist of ex-governors of banks and so on. We have to get everybody involved, from the industry, from the academic, as well as the regulator, to look at how education can be recalibrated in many ways. So to answer your question, we need to balance, and we need to understand that this is an iterative process and is moving a lot faster than maybe about 5 or 10 years ago. And very much of the materials that we have, for example, for CFTP, is dependent on the speed and also the changes in the industry. Because as you know, you're talking about CBDC, everybody is struggling to catch up, and you're talking about NFT, even you're doing full-time research, you have a hard time catching up in one specific area. And if you are dealing with just one blockchain, Ethereum or Hyperledger, you will have to spend a lot of time in those areas. So it is not as easy. We have to crowdsource expertise, we have to crowdsource talent, we have to have everybody working together. But the most important thing is that as educators, we need to ensure that everyone know the right question to ask. Because when you know the right question to ask, you have the critical thinking, then you become very resilient. So it has to be a balance between supply and demand, and it has to be training people to have the critical mind to ask the right question, and also to be resilient in the sense that knowing that Not everybody has got all the answers, and a lot of this you have to search for it. And I think as educator, we need to train people to share knowledge with us, not only just one way to train them to have critical thinking, but to also humble ourselves to see how we all can work together.
Thanks so much, Prof. I suppose if we don't understand a lot, then we should sign up in Global Fintech Institute. I'll go to Tim now. Tim, sorry that put you on wait, but as you know, because this is the main area that for today, I want to give you a little bit more time. Perhaps you can start off giving us a sort of an overall view of this growth of the digital asset industry, and also why your company focuses more on the compliance aspect of it.
Sure. Yeah. So thank you very much. So I'll just pick up a little bit on some of the points Hock-Lai made actually in his opening address. But Elliptic was founded in 2013. So the first, I think, blockchain analytics company. And in 2000, the digital ads was valued at, I think, 10.3 billion US dollars. Today in 2021, it's valued at 1.1 trillion US dollars. So we've been in this industry a long time, and it has grown steadily, but has exploded in the last 2 years. So obviously COVID, as Patrick was talking about, has accelerated that. So that brings, I think, to the industry some challenges. And going back to Patrick's point, lots and lots of companies entering the space, not only traditional financial institutions, as Hock-Lai was talking about, but lots of startup companies. And one of their biggest challenges is getting human capital business moving forward. So there's a shortage of skills, and there's a shortage of skills in compliance, particularly in the digital asset space, because it's accelerated so quickly. I think some people didn't expect it to accelerate so quick. I've got, many of my colleagues who are saying, hey, why did you join this company, Elliptic? Moving out of a large corporate business into a small startup, and I think now they get it. So it's about providing the skills and to develop the skills internally. So what we're seeing with a lot of our clients is that they're investing heavily in education and skill development to transform their current to deal with digital assets as well. So many of our 150 plus clients across the world are investing in our education programs, and it's great that we're able to expand that educational delivery through this. We can get it to a wider group of people. So I think there's a big opportunity out there for people to move into this space where there are lots of jobs and opportunities for people. And we see Singapore a great growth space, and we've seen a lot of activity amongst companies there. So that's really, really great. And you really taking a lead on things like this. So I have to say this initiative is the first one we've seen globally. So well done to you in pulling this together, Hock-Lai, and getting this together and really driving it forward. So what we've seen is tremendous growth. What we're seeing now is more traditional financial institutions coming into the space because they feel, as we've been working through our mission over the last 8 years, is to put the analytics in place and the risk analytics to allow people to feel safe and the ecosystem to be safe for business to grow. And to make sure we don't have illicit actors who, may use this technology. But again, as Hock-Lai said earlier, when you actually look at the stats and the percentage of actually illicit activity in the digital asset space, it's a lot lower than people actually think. So you see a lot of media, because clearly, ransomware and thing is all tied to crypto. So when people see these things, they think it's a little bit dodgy, as we would say in Yorkshire. Sorry to use a UK parlance there, but they think there's something that they shouldn't get involved with. So what we've seen is it being cleaned up through companies such as ourselves and the actions of businesses in the space, and that education, getting the ecosystem right, and investment from government, as Patrick was talking about. All of these things come together to really drive an industry. And to Professor Lee's point, I think if you are a student right now, or you are, looking to develop your career, this blockchain is where to invest it. And it's not just about digital assets, it's about buying a house. It's about, trading art, as we've seen. So it's about removing intermediaries from a system to speed it up and to make it low so people can do business in more efficient ways internationally as well. So I personally think it's a great space. I would say that because I work for a company in it. But, I've thoroughly enjoyed my journey. I've had to invest in my own education to, and I don't know everything. As Professor Lee was saying, it takes you time to, NFTs appear. You have to get skilled up on it. You have to learn about it. There are over 8,200 different tokens and digital assets now in the market. You can't possibly know every one of them, every blockchain, how it works from a technological point of view. So you need to, as Professor Lee said, be in a position to ask the right questions. And that's certainly something I can't know everything, but I can be able to ask some good questions to be able to drive forward. I understand my voice is disappearing a little bit, so apologies for that. I think it may be my internet connection.
It's okay, Tim, we can hear you in general. Thank you so much and then we obviously look forward to the actual implementation and of course. There are some questions that have been submitted by participants, so I don't want to honor them by hence asking those questions, and please do jump in, whoever the panelists that you think you can handle this. So one of the questions is, could you elaborate on the training, I think relating to this current certification which will be developed? And then also, what IT skills do you recommend compliance professionals to develop, whether it's Python, SQL, Solidity, others, and also the program that I think Hotline mentioned at SP, is it targeted at developers only? So whoever can answer those questions, can you please jump in? I think there's also one other question, say that will there be a PCP for blockchain related job? I think this relates to professional conversion program that there are grants available.
Yeah, maybe I can first jump in, right? First and foremost, right, for those who are really interested in the blockchain sector, do visit singaporeblockchain.org, sign up our mailing list so you get notified of the latest development. We do quite a number of webinars on a regular basis, ranging from regulatory, such as the recent Financial Action Task Force consultation paper, to things that are more technical, such as like quantum computing in blockchain, to something that is a bit more fun, such as non-fungible tokens. The second thing is that if you are looking, because as I shared that for this industry, there's a wide spectrum of roles. So if you are looking to be able to, like, for example, being able to analyze fintech and blockchain, right? The Chartered Fintech Professional course by the Global Fintech Institute will be the right place for you to start. If you are someone looking to deep dive to be a technical developer, being able to develop decentralized applications, so you can go to the Singapore Polytechnic website. There are quite a number of developer oriented courses there. And if you are someone looking to deep dive into digital assets compliance, this is where we are going to develop this course. More details will be announced soon. We are looking to roll it out in July. But basically, I can cover high level what we will be covering in the training. We'll be covering about privacy and anonymity enhancement technologies. We'll also be covering on blockchain analytics. What are the kind of illicit typologies, terrorist financing, cybersecurity and hacking, what is the regulatory environment, what are sanctions, and what are the emerging digital assets development. So high level, we'll be covering these topics. So for this, the digital assets compliance course, you don't really need to be someone technical. I saw one of the questions asking that, should I be learning Python or SQL to do this? I think that's the beauty of players like Elliptics, because they provide tools that you don't have to get your hands dirty and start coding, because the tools by Elliptics, right, will make it easy for you to use such tools and start doing digital assets compliance. Yeah, that's all from me. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone wants to jump in, or about PCP? Would Patrick know, or who can jump in for that one? The professional conversion program for.
Okay, I can also jump in on this. Like there is a PCP in blockchain offered by Singapore Polytechnic too, but it was rolled out early last year, unfortunately due to COVID-19. So that the take-up was not so good. A lot of the employers actually pivoted to a lot of the learners, right, actually pivoted to study the blockchain talent program, and some of them will start their industry attachment from May onwards. So if there is sufficient demand, I think we can always launch the PCP blockchain program again. Thanks.
So if I may add on this
Patrick.
professional conversion piece, for the benefit of some of you who may not be familiar with professional conversion program, it's a program supported by the government, working with sector agencies, but more importantly, working with employers of specific sectors and industries. So there's a very close nexus between the training and the whole program, as well as the jobs. So as what Hock Lai alluded to earlier, before they actually run many of these PCP programs, there's always so-called employers that will take on some of these program trainees, because there is always a placement or job element tied to these professional conversion programs most of the time. So yes, I know some companies have done it through the in-house PCP, meaning they can generate a professional conversion program to ensure existing employees within their organizations. I know a lot of financial institutions have done that to equip their existing employees with some of the skills to be able to take on some of the transform or the new job areas. However, what earlier on mentioned is the professional conversion program, not in-house, but going to these jobs in this area. So very, very much depending on employers. So employers out there, some of you are tuning in. I hope you approach the relevant agencies, either Workforce Singapore or IBF Careers Connect, to express your interest in wanting to take on some of these trainees. And if there's sufficient demand, I think they'll run it. In the meantime, I know of a professional conversion program, not in the financial sector specifically, but in the wholesale trade professional space. So there is a professional conversion program in the wholesale trade professional space, and that also, again, depending on number of employers. I know when they roll out the few runs of the program, blockchain featured quite extensively in that program. So picking up knowledge about blockchain was quite extensive there. So this is to my knowledge, some of the available information I have, or some of you who are keen to take on this new skill.
Thank you so much. I think due to the limit that we want to honor your time, is 4 p.m. already. So, but thank you to the panel team, Hock Lai, David, and Patrick. And I think the takeaway I have from this panelists is that we need to skill up, and there is all available opportunities for us to skill up, whether to use tools like Elliptic and all the courses at GFI, as well as Blockchain Association of Singapore that provides will be there for us. Thank you so much. And I hand this back to Yvonne.
Thank you so much, Mr. Henry Tan, for facilitating such an interesting panel discussion. And thank you very much to all our panelists for contributing your thoughts. And of course, really special thanks to Mr. Patrick Tay for taking time off your busy schedule to be present here with us today to witness the MOU and participate in the panel as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of today's program. We really thank you on behalf of Blockchain Association Singapore, Global Fintech Institute, and Elliptic. Thank you for spending your time this afternoon with us, and we hope you have taken away some good learnings. And for those of you who are interested in the Digital Asset Certification Program, please stay tuned for updates. We will plan to launch this sometime in July. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I wish all of you a great week ahead.
Thank you.